What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you information about the gods Divinity Original Sin 2 doesn't tell you about. So, Divinity Original Sin 2, obviously being the most popular of all of the Divinity games, you would be forgiven for not playing the other mini-games, I believe 5 other ones at least, that are out there. And because of that, you may not realize that the 7 gods mentioned in that game are actually not all of them. In fact, there are at least 3 directly referenced in all of the other games, as well as 1 god that is mentioned in a short story that I cannot verify the canonical relevance of, so I mention that one as an honorable mention. But there are 3 more that are definitely gods that are not mentioned in Divinity Original Sin 2, really. First up, we have Ron. R-A-A-N, not R-O-N, but nonetheless, Ron. So Ron is presumed to be the creator of the Renari. Now, you wouldn't know who the Renari are if you've only played Divinity Original Sin 2, so with that in mind, you will have heard of Nemesis. Now, playing Divinity Original Sin 2, you might think that Nemesis is the home plane of the demons, and that is actually incorrect. Nemesis is a plane of existence that was actually taken over by demons. It was originally home to a race known as the Renari, and we learn all of this information in Divinity's Beyond Divinity, which was the second game in the Divinity series ever released. Ron, being the goddess of war, wisdom, and honor, is again presumed to be the creator of the Renari race. However, at a certain point in Nemesis's history, obviously the demons took over. And furthermore, those demons shattered a crystal on the plane of Nemesis that actually strengthened Ron, and by breaking it and scattering it to the winds, they made themselves immortal, the demons that is, but moreover they weakened Ron. Now through the events of Beyond Divinity, that crystal is reformed, and it is presumed Ron is out there just gathering strength somewhere. So nothing really to know about what she's doing, but she exists. There are still Renari out there, presumably, so maybe we'll see something like that in the future. Next, we have the one we actually probably know the second least about, which is Ouroboros. So in Divinity 2, the Dragon Knight saga, we can actually speak to an ancient dragon known as the Patriarch. And in this game, we also learn that true dragons are very rare. Dragon Knights are actually rare, but you still see them on occasion, which are people who can transform into dragons, and they tend to be referred to as dragons. However, that's not the case. True dragons, completely anatomically dragons all the time, are very rare. They are actually so old that they were in their prominence around the same time the Eternals, which later turned into the 7 gods, or at least 7 of them did, obviously. Dragons actually ruled at the same time as Eternals, so they were around at the same time. However, when everything went down with the Eternals, and later on throughout history, the dragons slowly started to disappear. Now, Patriarch specifically mentions Ouroboros as a god, and that's important because Patriarch is the oldest of the dragons. He actually mentions that he's called Patriarch because his true name is tied to the very creation of the world, and that speaking his true name literally brings new species to life. So if that guy who is that powerful and that tied to creation is telling you that Ouroboros is a dragon god, I'm inclined to believe him. Lastly, of the 3 definitely canonical ones, that brings us to the main focus of Divinity Original Sin 1, which was Astarte, the goddess of source magic. Now, it is implied that she seems to be a natural god, whereas the 7 stole their godhood in a way, which if you've played Divinity Original Sin 2, you might understand what I mean by that, but I'm not going to spoil too much there. But basically, Astarte seems to have existed when everything was created. She is a goddess of source magic. Source comes from her. It is her strength. With that in mind, again, Larian is very scant on details about how all of this works, but Astarte is the goddess of source, and when her first garden was tainted by the void, that is actually what caused source magic to go awry and be used for destruction, because originally it was a source of healing. And we know that Astarte is incredibly old, or at least every bit as old as the Eternals and Ouroboros, because Ouroboros and the dragons were actually the first race to actually master source, and if source existed, we know Astarte existed. And then lastly, there is actually one more god that is mentioned that I found. Not directly in any of the games, however. It's actually in a short story, and it is Trogda. She is supposed to be a lizard god of some sort that apparently helped Lucian's horse Goliath throw something, which enabled Lucian to discover a rift temple around the time of the beginning of the events that led to Damien's imprisonment in Nemesis. So again, that's literally all the information I have on Trogdor, but she's specifically mentioned as a lizard god, and seeing as Lucian the Divine is around, we know that people are actively worshipping the Seven. So I don't have enough details to really tell you one way or the other about this, and I question the canonical relevance of Trogdor, but nonetheless, there you go. So there you go, guys. There are all the gods I could find that were not mentioned in Divinity Original Sin 2. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. But thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day.